Good morning, everybody. 8:11. Delayed by a minute because I was looking why that market just moved like that. Trump just put on True Social that China violated its agreement with U.S. So it says Trump, China, perhaps not surprisingly to some, has totally violated its agreement with the U.S. on tariffs. Breaking out of this consolidation, you're getting this big red candle right now in the markets. This market does not ever cease to amaze and to go nuts every almost overnight or pre-market. It it's just crazy. So this is going to spark volatility, more volatility in this market. We are also awaiting data. Okay, data at 8:30. All right, we got the core PCE, and then top it off, we got 9:45. You got Chicago PMI, and then at 10 you got Michigan consumer sentiment, all which move markets. Trump and Musk are going to speak at 1:30 p.m. as well. Okay, so we were just consolidating for many, many, many hours, and this just broke to the downside. I don't know how much steam this has in it, but it's definitely not a positive piece of news. China violating tariff agreement. So it just never stops. It just never stops with this headline risk market. Okay? That is what's going on. Now, yesterday we closed higher, but we're in this major balance area. And I believe, and then we have the trade. I'm sorry. So let me finish my statement. We are in an ultimate balance in both markets. Okay, we are now both below ultimate balance in the ES and the Nasdaq. Okay, with the ES and the Nasdaq. So the more we stay under this ultimate balance, it's bearish. Okay, and why we were in this ultimate balance is a couple of reasons, right? Well, one, the markets just are in balance, but it's lining up with the uncertainty in the markets. It's lining up with the uncertainty of the markets. Okay, futures are a discounting, forward-looking mechanism. Okay, they usually are 6 months ahead, pricing stuff in. However, at this current moment, with the court blocking tariffs, now the Court of Appeals reinstating tariffs, it's you don't know what to know. You don't know what to do right now. You don't. The markets will then go ahead and balance, and that just shows indecisiveness in the markets. Okay, until we get some type of look into the future, it's just nobody knows what's going to happen, right? Like Trump just comes out with this, right? The court just blocks trades and then it unblocks it. It is a crazy market, okay? It is a crazy market. Now you're getting some wicking. We'll get into the what's happening now in a little bit, okay? But I just wanted to listen to see what the heck exactly just happened, and it was Trump saying that China is violating tariff agreement. All right. So good morning. All right. Good morning. Right now, with that being said, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use volume profile, market profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, and the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That's my edge and how I choose to look at the markets. It shows me who's in control. I also use anchored VWAPs. Okay, and my trusty gauge, the market internals. Okay, that lets me know what the market's capable of every day. Now, if you come and join my Discord, you'll see what I am seeing. And now, in particular, yesterday, okay, market internals. All right, I want to show you what they were showing me. Okay, so here's the day. He opened up, and there was a big disconnect. Right, what this means was the overall market was getting a lot of love, But the market cap, the stuff that actually moves our market, because the S&P 500 is a market cap weighted index, okay, was weak. That is a disconnect, okay? And then what happened is we proceeded to finally, when the equal weight started to meet back up under zero, my plan for the day was to short. So I waited, okay? Here's the SPX. I waited. I don't have the VWAP here, but for SPY, let's just put it SPY so you can see. Now, I wish this was great news that I'm going to show you for myself, but it was perfect reading of the markets. Let's look at the SPY in the QQQ. Okay, I waited for this right here. Actually, let me make sure that I'm giving you. Yeah, I waited for this touch of the VWAP. Okay, and other signals that I was lined up for me because I said this market is not strong and technology was weak. All sorts of weak. The leaders in tech, communications, discretionary, infotech were weak. The QQQ or the NASDAQ was relatively weaker than the ES or the SPY. Okay? So, let me get back to here. Give me a sec here. Here we go. Let me granulate it here a little bit. Here. Let's go to the 5 minute. Just so we can see exactly what I was seeing. Okay? Right here in the SPY. So once this hit here, okay, I got short. Okay? My stop loss was somewhere up here. Actually, it was like right here. So I was saying, okay, we were in ultimate balance as well. So I have to make sure you understand this. This is a gamma flip point. This is very powerful levels. You can see the QQQ, right? So what I did is I was like, okay, cool. I got this move, right? So I was like, okay, cool. I think we're going to break. If we break these lows, it's going to be a big, big move. All right. And unfortunately, once I got this move, I put my stop like here. And you can see it never hit even close to my stop loss or even this. I was like going to say that I was going to put my stop here, and I got stopped out for like like very close to my break even. And I said, ooh, I still like this short. And I almost short it again. I was so close to shorting it because I was like, I still like it. And that's why I put my stop where I did, because I said I'll re-enter if I see what I like. And look what happened right after that. Let's just zoom into the price action that I really care about. So once this came up again, I was like, oh boy. And it just took me out by maybe like 15 cents or something like that. And I go, oh, I like this. I really like this. And once this bearish engulfing candle came in, and I was like, oh, I didn't want to re-enter. It stunk, because then look what happened. That big sweeping move came right in, and I had to watch it. And that's very hard psychologically on trading to see that my stop was never even close to being touched. I could have re-entered, but I didn't. And I was pretty confident that we were going to break these lows. And then it happened. Boom. And you just have to sit there and watch. And then I winded up trying to short in here, which was just a boneheaded decision. Boneheaded. Because the move happened already. Horrible. Oh yeah, this is what I wanted to tell you what I did. I was like, in here, I was like, I still think this is gonna fall, and I could have took a bigger, I could have put more risk because I knew this was gonna have a big move if it fell, and I winded up cutting it. I just said, you know what, I don't want to trade like that. That would have been a winner, and then it made me interested in a short around here, and I got stopped out, which was just absolutely dumb. and I know why this is Achilles heel of mine a little bit, is if I'm in a trade, it would have worked, right? I got the move that I wanted, and then I was in it again, it would have worked, and I cut it. So now I have nothing to show for that analysis. And now I was kind of like, I gotta get something. And I wound up taking a loss, which was, ugh, gut wrenching, right? Gut wrenching because all I needed to do was stay in that original trade. I would have had a monster trade. Horrible, right? Not a great feeling. But however, what's the bright spot? Well, I'm sharing it with you. The bright spot is my original analysis was spot on. Okay. Now, what I could have did is I could have just put my stop here. I would have never got hit, and I would have hit my target, right? Or stick with my original execution plan whenever I get an excursion like this, right? Because I was in here, got all the way here, came back, right? Never took out this swing high, and then I would have been golden. But still, I don't want to have a move come back on me and make it a loss. So I'm okay with that, but I should have just been like re-enter, boom. I should have just said, you know what, I'm re-entering. It's worth the risk, but I didn't. So that's what happened to me yesterday. I know I got a little long-winded, but I always want to share stuff like this. It sucks to share it, but my analysis was on point. That's the highlight point. Psychologically, was a F, was a bad day. Analysis was spot on. Okay, that's what makes trading so hard. Okay, now not sure if you appreciated that or not, but have to give you the insights of trading, right? Because it's not it's there's great days, and then there's days where you're just like, really. And there's days where I'll just look at that and go, oh, okay, no problem. But this day I couldn't shake it that I would have made money on two trades in a row because of my analysis, and I was confident. And then I took a less probable trade because of that. Not a good thing. Okay, not a good thing. All right. So now that that diatribe's over, all right, trying to flush it out of my system. Trying to flush it out of my system. Hopefully you join me every day. All right, give you that market story. That's why I waited to give you the news this morning with Trump, what was going on with the markets before I logged in. All right, I'm gonna give you that story, the leaders and the laggards, why we're doing what we're doing. Okay. Oh man, that trade would have been a monster yesterday. But you got to get over it. It's another day, and I just hope you join me every morning. All right, now let's gonna get right into futures, right into the watch list, see what's moving markets. All right, let's do it. Documents. And I'll explain yesterday in detail of why I knew that move would be big, right? Ultimate balance is the reason. Okay, so we'll get into that. So let's look at the markets. All right, with this little China and Trump Truth Social post. All right, VIX is up 3.7%, 3.70%. All right, we're creeping up to a 19 VIX. All right, dollar, it's kind of flat. 30-year bonds flat. Bitcoin down 0.15. 10-year yield down 0.20. The Dow's down 0.363. All right. Now we still have big data coming out at 8:30. So silver down 0.32. Dow down 0.35. ES down 0.47. Nasdaq's down 0.48. Gold down 0.53. Russell down 0.72. Crude's down 0.79. Their OPEC is going to look to push a production output, add to the output, which should. That's why crude is kind of hanging out. Ethereum is down 2.12. Moving on to the Mag 7 Plus here. All right. Eli Lilly is up 0.35. Then you got a flat Netflix. And then you got a bunch of red. Okay, we'll go for the 50 percenters here. JP Morgan down 0.52. GE down 0.55. BA down 0.57. Nvidia down 0.64. Apple down 0.65. Coinbase down 0.74, AMD down 0.81, Amazon down 0.92, and a laggard is Tesla down 1.28. Okay, now Tesla's been getting some love lately because Trump is I mean, Elon Musk is leaving Trump's administration. He said he's going to go back to 24/7 to concentrate on Tesla. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the sectors, the guts of the market. Now, if you hear those large sounds in my, you probably hear those large alarms. Those are large lots. Okay, in futures markets, hitting the tape. Okay, large lots. That's 100 lot at 58.90 in the ES right now. It just hit. So lets me know when large orders hit the market. Okay. Now let's look at this here. Okay. Now whenever you have real estate, that's a defensive, right? Staples, that's a defensive. Utilities, defensive, right? Those are the ones that are not down that much, right? Nothing is a positive, but the negatives are, we got technology down 0.45, semiconductors, that's a risk off, it's down 0.51, financials down 0.57, discretionary down 0.62, energy down 0.68. Energy is the laggard. Energy is the laggard, okay? But what you really care about is the technology sector, financials, discretionary. Those will move the markets. Energy will not move markets. Remember, it's all based on market cap weight. Okay. Moving on to the economic calendar and the news. Let's do that. We're going to go over some breadth charts as well, which just backs up what I see in the markets with ultimate balance. Okay. Multiple, hence confluence trading, multiple confluences, right? All stringing together. Now, today, in about 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes, we have core PCE, headline PCE, and core PCE. Okay, core PCE, they're expecting 2.5, previous 2.6, they're expecting a reduction of 0.1. Let's see how that goes. Chicago PMI, you got 945, all right, and you got 10 a.m. Michigan consumer sentiment with a bunch of other inflation and stuff like that. This moves markets. Okay, so 940, I don't, this is like the day where, whenever we have days like this when the market opens, it's like 9:45, 10 a.m. news. I stay clear till about 10:05, 10:10. Let the dust settle. What stinks is every time this happens, there's a trade that I'm like, this is my setup, but then I can't take it because of the news. It happens almost 75% of the time where I'm like, this is where I'd be entering a trade, and news is going to come out. Okay. Now, we got about 40 seconds, so I'll stay here, and then we'll flip right to the hourly chart in futures. Now, I don't know how, this is probably, you got to think about the weights of the news. Trump with China is going to be heavier weight than a core PCE unless it's some shocking number. Okay. So, why don't we do this? Let's go to the hourly charts first in futures. Okay. We'll do that first. See the reaction to the data. Okay, let's watch the reaction to the data first. You can see we were in this little wedge here that we broke out of. I can get rid of this now. Okay, ultimate balance right here. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's just see. Data came out already. Like I said, I don't know if this is going to be any significant just because of the China news is going to overpower it. So they came out and it's really actually doing nothing. Okay. Numbers are coming out. Okay. Let's look at them. Let's look at them because it's really not really moving the market much. That's actually pushing the market up a little bit. All right, let's see here. So this is the Fed's inflation gauge, preferred gauge. Okay. So core PCE year over year. Consensus 2.5, you nailed it, 2.5. Now the market actually is liking this a little bit. All right, we'll get back to that. So it came in line, Now, the year over year was better than expected. Okay, this is not core. This is the year over year. Headline, I'm sorry, headline. 2.2 expected, 2.1. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with there. That's out now. What do we do from here? I don't know. Okay, I don't know. So let's get into real quick the headline that came out and all this friggin' red here, right? So this is what moved the markets earlier. Okay, Trump, China, perhaps not surprisingly to some, has totally violated its agreement with the U.S. on tariffs. That was the negative news that broke out of that consolidation. Okay, then you got all this core PCE stuff that just came out, right? I don't think that's going to matter. We're going to just rely most likely on the China news. Okay, that just brings more uncertainty to markets, more uncertainty. All right, now let's get into some other news that was before this. Now, the other friggin' news was this court stuff. U.S. Trade Court blocked the tariffs. Now they reinstated the tariffs. All right, look, Trump tariffs remain in effect after appeals court grants stay. Google and Department of Justice to make final push in U.S. search antitrust. What's this? Synopsis halts China sales due to export restrictions. All right, global airlines to address trade war, net zero uncertainty at annual summit. Wall Street fears foreign tax and budget bill may reduce allure of U.S. assets. Okay, like a lot of this almost that this is after this became at before the Trump China news. So this most of this stuff's not going to matter as much, impact the markets too much. So I'm actually going to just push right through this. I mean, a lot of these are not market movers. Okay, Costco did report earnings, I believe. But let's just look at that real quick. Costco retailer missed analytic expectation for the third quarter revenue. All right, just wanted to see what they did. Large orders hitting the tape. All right, let's move on to. I think that's it. I think I want to get into breadth charts. Okay, let's see where we're at. Right, good gauge of the breadth of the overall market. Number one is percentage of the S&P 500 stocks that are over the 20-day simple moving average. We are at 61%. Okay? Remember, frothy number for the markets are around 90%, 88%. You usually get a dip in the markets. You can see the S&P 500 up here. We were up here and I was saying this is very frothy. And then look, whoop. Now this isn't the market, this is the percentage of stocks over the 28 super. This is the market. But look what happened. We dipped. We came up there again, we dipped. Right? I just like looking at that. It gives a good perspective on the markets. Now the other thing that I like to look at are bullish percent index of the markets. Okay? Now, bullish percent index. There's a thing called the point and figure chart. You do not use time. It's time agnostic. It doesn't use time. It just use if a market's on a buy signal, and if you ever want to look at it, it's like X's and O's on a chart. Okay, but this index tells you what percentage of stocks are on buy signals. On buy signals. Okay, notice when the markets hit around this level, we're at almost 80%, 90%. It's frothy. This is the NASDAQ 100. Basically your QQQ and your NASDAQ futures, okay? 82% of stocks are on buy signals. That's pretty frothy, okay? I'm not telling you short the markets. I'm just telling you this is a breadth indicator. It's telling me, okay, this might be a little overdone. We all know markets can go irrational longer than you can stay solvent. We all know that, okay? It's just a data point. I want to give you that. That's the NASDAQ 100. Now, here's the kicker, okay? Here's the kicker. This is what I'm going to show you. Let's look at the S&P 500 bullish percent. I mean, you're going to see that number drop significantly. 69% of stocks are on buy signals. Okay? What does that tell you? What I've been saying every day is the NASDAQ is relatively stronger, right? Than the overall market. Remember, S&P 500 is 500 stocks. The NASDAQ is 100 stocks, and it's mainly tech. So this tells you, okay, this market is the S&P 500 overall is not as strong, right? Now let's go one level more, all right? Now if we look at the NYSE bullish percent index, now that the NYSE is 2,800 stocks, right? It's more broader. Check that out. 57% of stocks are on buy signals. So that tells you in the whole stock market of almost 28, 3,000, whatever, how many stocks are in the NYSE, 57% are on buy signals. That's like half and half, pretty much. Okay? You can also do the NASDAQ as well. The NASDAQ composite, which is the NASDAQ exchange, is only 52%. Now, like I said, there's exchanges, NASDAQ exchanges, which is every stock on the NASDAQ exchange. It isn't like NASDAQ 100. It's just the NASDAQ exchange. Then you have the NYSE exchange. Like I said, I think combined they're close to 6,000 stocks or something like that. Okay? Crazy, right? That tells you even more why we're uncertain. But remember this, the NASDAQ moves. NASDAQ technology sector, whatever, moves our markets. That's what moves our markets. That's why you can have this disconnect. Okay? Moving on. Moving on. All right? We're going to go to daily charts. All right? And look at the daily charts. All right? Give me a sec while we pull up SPY. All right? Let's look at the daily charts together. Now, interestingly enough here, let's look at this together, okay? So first thing I noticed, obviously, like I said, I'm not a big pattern guy, but I'm not going to deny a pattern if I see it, okay? So I don't know, I'm not sure if I can write on this chart and you'll see. Oh yeah, I can. Okay. So you kind of got like an inverse head and shoulders here, okay? That's a bullish, basically pattern. So you can have that a shoulder, a head, and then you got your neckline right there. So 595, let's call it, is your neckline. So this is bullish pattern. So you look the breakout of this, right? It's just one data, right? That you can't deny that at all. Okay. What did we do yesterday? Let's zoom in here. Yesterday, we hit the 9 EMA daily right there to the tick. Boop. And of course, because I missed that short, I looked at that and I was going to go long at 587 in the SPY because it was at a very key level. There was a thinning in the profile, and I was like already psychologically not right. So I was like, that would be a long. If I didn't get short at all, that would probably be a long for me. And then I just watched it rip back up, right? Salt in the wounds, right? So I saw that and I said, oh, that would be probably a nice long. Because you came down, you took out the previous day's lows, and then you hit the 9 EMA daily, and I was like, most likely this is probably going to get bought up. And it did, right? And we closed here. Closed in the mid of the prior day. All right. Now, where are we at now? 587.90. We are right about 587.90. We're about here, the lower third of yesterday. But you're in a crap location. Okay, and I'll show you why in futures in a little bit. Let's look at the futures, so just give us a better idea of what we're working with here. Here's futures. Okay, horrible. This is horrible. I mean, you'll see it when I told you show you open the balance. This where we are now is this ridiculous, horrible trading equation. All right, ridiculous. Now look what happened. Boop. We tried to take out last week's highs. We could not do it. Right? Could not do it. Right? And now we're getting finally lower lows. Right? We were getting higher lows earlier. And we're just in the crap location. Okay? Crap. Now, people use moving averages like I do here. You can use the most traded prices, the VPOCs like I use in futures. But the 9 EMA basically tells you the deal, right? It's flattened out. So you don't have to have VPOX on your chart, just like this moving average. It will show you the same thing as well. As long as it's flattened it out, you know that, okay, we must be in some type of balance. However, I'd rather have the VPOC on my chart, but I have them here, right? So tells you the same thing, okay? Confluence. Okay, so this is what we have going on here. We're in the middle of crap. It's not a good location. Okay, so moving on to the Qs. Let's look at that Qs, relatively stronger, right? Look what the Qs did. And you can see the difference, right? Well, this broke. It opened up, gapped up here. You opened here. All right, let's zoom in here. You opened here, had a little bit of a wick here, and then you just sold off. Where did you go? You tried to break that big level of resistance, which you did, failed, came back into range. Didn't hit the 9 EMA daily, but you closed right here. Okay. Now, where are we at now? We're at 518. Let's call it 518.70. 518.70 is about right here. You're at the lower, near the lows. Near the lows. Okay. Now let's look at the futures of the Nasdaq. Here we are. You can see that big wick, and you can see we're bouncing off the 9 EMA daily in futures. Okay, doji candle in the middle of crap. Again, in the middle of crap. You do have that kind of inverse head and shoulders, but this was a big fail to go higher, right? That was a big fail. All right. That's your futures. I'm sorry. That's your daily charts futures. All right. Let's move over to our triple-headed monster here in that bond market. Let's see what the good old bond market is doing here. The bond market's just in no man's land again. Okay. Yields have come down, but now we're just chopping 2025 anchor VWAP, right? 100-day moving average is flat. That tells you everything you need to know. 100-day moving average is flat. Look at that. 100-day is flat. That tells you a lot. 200-day is flat. That means that these bond market is really just moving sideways. And I've already told you 4.27 yields the most traded price of the last 5 years. So right here, that's the most traded price of the yields. Okay. Moving on to the dollar. And that dollar's pesky too. I feel like it's bottoming out. Right? Look at this dollar. Tried to break this downtrend, couldn't. Tried again, couldn't. Dollar's getting pretty frothy to the downside here. All right. We just have to see. Not really sure. Now let's go to the fear factor here. The fear gauge. That's your VIX. All right. Your VIX. All right. Came down. Now we're popping back up. This should still bring good volatility to our markets, good ranges. Okay. A little tip here. A 16 VIX is a 1% expected move in the S&P 500. A 16 VIX. We're at a 19.52 VIX. So you should get a nice move, nice ranges today. Okay. Especially with this China news. You're getting a nice wick now in the markets, and we're going to go right to that in a second. Right to that in a second. We're going to go right to the hourly charts now. All right. Let's do that. And we'll look at this hourly charts together. Okay. Here we go. All you gotta care about right now is this level. This level is ultimate balance. That level is, let's just round it off in the middle of it, 59.16, 59.15. Okay. Very important. I can't state that enough. Okay. This is your line in the sand for markets. Okay. Bull above, bear below. Here's our hourly candle. You got this push down was China. You came into this demand, popped up because of the PCE. Okay. But you can see where are we popping back up to. I know my boy Ran, if he's listening. Most traded price of the month and the week becomes ultimate balance. this becomes a wall. This becomes a magnet for the markets. Okay, so there's going to be a big time move from this area. Okay, it's either going to push up, hold, and we're going to start to go up. We're going to break this, hold, and we're going to go down. Don't know where, don't know how, don't care, but that's how I look at the markets. Okay, this can do, price action can do a bunch of stuff to fool you. I call it, as a guy, the price action is like a seductress. She lulls you into thinking something, and next thing you know, it's like, nope. All right. Some people call it, it's an advertising mechanism, price action. It can fool you. Okay, that's why I like to have these levels on the chart, because now I know a game plan for my levels. Now, here's that anchored VWAP from these highs. Look at that anchored VWAP. Ooh, has never been closed above, right? That's the sell-off. These sellers are still in control. Okay, if we zoom out a little bit, you'll notice a couple things here. Okay, let's really zoom out here and show you the anchored VWAPs as well. Okay, so here's US trade China deal, right? Those are the buyers. They represent average buyer. And guess what? It's right there. Market is still above that level. From this swing low, the market hit it, drove up. Hit it again, drove up. Couldn't close below it again. So if you just go on VWAPs alone, look where this VWAP is. Look where these are. Look where price is. See how everything works together, right? If I didn't have VWAPs on my thing, I would just care about ultimate balance. But I have both, right? I have both. So let's move on to the NASDAQ. Okay, NASDAQ, member, structurally different, or it's relatively stronger, but structurally, actually, it's kind of matching up. The only thing, actually, now, it's actually a little more bearish looking. Okay, so if we look at the ultimate balance level, is 21435. This is even more powerful. Why? Because it's the most traded price of this year. It's the most traded price of yesterday. It's the most traded price of the week and of the month. Just a monster level. Okay, anchor VWAP from the highs. Never has a candle close above it. Notice we haven't even touched it up here, and the ES you have. So now this is relatively weaker. It was in the market yesterday. The NASDAQ was relatively weaker. Okay, so here's your VWAPs from the US China trade deal and this recent swing low. You can see the markets have not closed below these levels. Same thing. Okay, however, structurally it's more bearish. This is a bull bear line in the sand. Above it you're bullish, below it you're bearish. We are going to make a big move. Okay, the more we coil and coil and coil, big move happens. Okay, that's why yesterday when we were in this ultimate balance, this is where you got that wick. That's why I expected a big move yesterday, and it happened because you went away from ultimate balance. Okay, so that's your hourly charts. Okay, you can see these big wicks, and look, we're going right back into this consolidation, which is horrible. This is bad trade location. Okay, it's you ask them, you want to get chopped up, yeah, enter a trade in here. And I always say, scalpers, ignore that, because you can do a lot of stuff inside of balance area, short the highs, along the lows. I'm not a scalper, so like I'm only talking about my time horizon, right? So, all right, let's move on. Let's move on. Let's go into the futures analysis. All right, futures analysis. Traps. Futures analysis. Let me just change my workspace, okay? We are going to look at yesterday. All right. This is your market profile, your volume profile. Okay. Now, like I said, all right, I have many tools to tell me something, right? That I don't have to really think about. That's the beauty of the volume profile and stuff like that. You don't have to think. I don't have to use anything in my brain. It just shows me, right? Well, look at this. Here's your weekly composite volume profile. Look at this. You want to talk about a bell curve. You want to talk about distribution. There it is. A beautiful profile, right? What does that signify? Balance. That's what that signifies. And the highlighted area is your value area. Where's price? Right on the value area low. Horrible location. Okay? You're in the middle of balance. You're in the middle of where people agree. The prices are fair. Okay? If profile's a house, right? And you have it on the market, do you want to buy when the value area is high? Right? Do you want to buy that house when the value is high or when the value is low or even lower, below value? Right? And you want to sell above value. So the market's nothing like it's just an auction. They call it market auction theory. That's the same thing. Sell high, buy low, and this just gives you something to work with, value area. Now in this case, this is not really a buy here, not really a sell here. It's because you're in the middle of crap. Your ass gonna get chopped. Okay? Now, here's our ultimate balance level, just like you saw my other chart. Whoop, right here. There it is. Okay, right on the chart for you to see. All right. So let's look at yesterday. Let's look at. Let me look at my traumatic experience from yesterday, which I always love doing. Looking back at what I had, what the trade I was in that would have worked. It's a great feeling. Let's see. Open here. This is called an open test drive. You drove down. And where did we go to? Ultimate balance, right? What happens when you hit that? You just chop and chop and chop, right? But I got short. I had a nice open P&L. Happened to hit me, and then you get that big move down. Why did we move big down so much? Why? Because you were in ultimate balance. You went away from it. Oh, a lot of people in pain. Okay? Moves away from ultimate balance cause nice big moves. Okay? Farther away from ultimate balance, you're talking about, woo boy. Okay? So that's why I like to have that on my chart. Lets me know the market's coiling. Okay? Now, today's easy analysis. Easy. So, let's look at some levels. All right? Now, where's price now? Inside yesterday's session, right? Inside yesterday's session. Market came down here. You have nice excess here. Okay. So we're just going to mark this off around here. That's a level to be interested in buying the market. Okay. Remember, value below value, right? Below value area low, and this area has been support in the market. Okay. Below that, woo, you're on weak legs here. Remember that elephant, my boy, elephant on a toothpick. Still holding up that market, right? Still holding up that market. Okay. Now, you do have your little look above and fail up here. Okay. Hence, also why that move was big. Okay. So, the only thing now this makes it a little odd, not really. So you have like these highs over here, right? Which would be yesterday's highs, right up there. Okay. So when you're in balance like this, perfect balance, it's basically like you just want to play the edges. Okay. That's all it is. And in here is choppy. And what I can guarantee you is this is going to be an inside out trade. I don't like trading like that because it's really so much of a coin flip. Because when you get into this area, you're going to make an inside out move. You are going to test here or here. It's going to happen, right? Now that's a coin flip for me because you can get chopped up for a while and then we make the move, right? And then you can take a loss or get lucky and you get the win. For me, I want to be out here and here to say I'd like to long, right? Because whenever you're in balance, okay, and you stay in balance, what happens, right? The shorts that are from short from there come down here and there's a little buying, they cover. Now people cover, become buyers, and what happens? Buyers step up, right? And anybody who's still short, cover their position. You come back to the other side. Buyers take profits, new sellers come in, and we go like this, right? Hence a balance range. Okay, that's why that happens. Okay, so this area is just chop. You need to see something outside of it. Okay, so that's how simple it is for me today. All right, now let's get right into the scenarios here. I know I'm being long-winded today. This is going to be pretty easy, so I'll be able to run through the NASDAQ pretty quickly. All right, so what am I looking at here? Okay, what am I looking at? Now I know I have a supply zone right here, right, lined up with, this is a confluence high here. Okay, I'll get into that. So this is a little, let me back up here. I know what I said. Now there is a shot at this. Like I said, I don't think it's highly probable, but it could be. There's a supply zone there. This is the ultimate balance lining up with the overnight highs. Where's from resistance? Okay, I'll explain that in a second. Okay, but let's get into scenarios here. I'm gonna push this up again just because all right. Let's talk about both sides. All right, price is right here. Okay, I would love push down, touch those overnight lows, go into this demand zone. Okay, get some higher lows, get long. Probably take some off here to hope to get to the other side of balance. You get through that ultimate balance, you hold. What's going to happen? Now, generally, if we're not in a balance area, these become big time resistance and they're hard to get through. But when you're in balance, it's just a momentum shift to buyers and you usually push up. Okay. Okay. That is pretty much all I'm interested in. Now, not the, let me say this. I'd rather get this trade, but here's the possibility, okay, that the market can push up, break the overnight highs out of ultimate balance, break the supply zone, right? And then what I would look for is a hold to get this move, right? I want this move. This could also be in the cards. That's it for bulls. All right, bear side, okay, same stuff, reversed. Okay, now let's talk about this. I don't know what's in the cards, but here's a couple scenarios for the bear side. There's a couple of them. Okay, let's go over two first ones that I would talk about. All right, this could happen, right? You can come up, try to break through ultimate balance, go into the supply, fail, come back through lower highs. Now you got liquidity from these longs. You're gonna take them out, right? Now this is the other side of balance. You could definitely bounce here, like I just gave you in the bullish case. But if you take this out, okay, you have single prints, poor structure right here. That if the market is weak, you're going to rip down. Guess what's there? Month-to-day VWAP and the most traded price of the rolling year. Okay. You can also come down here, break this level, hold, go down there. Door number 3. The market moves up like I showed you earlier, right? Market moves up like I showed you earlier and comes back up here and gets resistance and does lower highs, right? And then you probably will come back to balance. That's it for the ES. Move on to the NASDAQ. Okay, like I said, this will be pretty quick. Okay. And you can see Nasdaq's just more wild, but basically excess. Oh, you have our excess to the top. You have our value area, and then you have excess to the bottom. It's also imbalance. Okay. Remember the 21435. This area is the monster level, and your price is below it. Okay. So what do we have here? We have this level here, 21226 to 221193. We're going to call this area here the bottom of balance. Okay. You also have a supply zone here and the ultimate balance. And then we have a supply zone up here. Okay. But I will put this last week's highs right here also as a mini balance high. Okay. So let's get right into it. Like I said, this could be quick. Okay. I'm a bull. If I'm a bull, I want to see a push away from this area. Remember, below this is bearish. But if we stay in balance, then we're just going to go back through it. Okay? But I don't know. You never know when you're going to come out of balance. Push down. Let's see. Come into this level. You could bounce. Then you go. Make sure you take some profits at ultimate balance. If you break here, hold, 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 we're going to at least test last week's highs or possibly this supply. Now again, just like I said in the ES, what could we do? The market could just really rip up, push up, hold, hold, go up. I would rather not have that. I'd rather have this. I'd rather have the market internals be like not very weak, come down here, and then I want to go long. Okay. In this scenario, I want the market internals to show me tech is strong. Then will give me confidence to get into a pullback. All right. That's the long side. Short side. All right. Same stuff as the ES, right? So it's very simple. If the market can come into ultimate balance and cannot break this level, or even does a little tiptoe, whoop, and we slam down. This is the most traded price of the overnight. Come through here, you're going to test overnight lows, okay? And then here's the single prints, just my boy, Elfie, on that toothpick comes into play. You got weak foundation here. If you can rip right through that, you're going to test this support. Okay, I don't know if you get this, but this is the month to day VWAP down here, and 207 is the most traded price of the rolling year. Remember, structurally, the Nasdaq is stronger, but today the Nasdaq is relatively weaker in price. Okay, now what's the other scenario here? You can just push down, hold, 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 drop, or you push across up into this area and can't go and fall back to balance. Now, if you make it up here, well, the market's probably strong, so I probably wouldn't like that short as much. Okay, we could fall into the weekend. All right, that's it for me today. Please smash that like button. If you enjoyed the analysis, I know it was a little long-winded, but I hope it gave some golden nuggets today for you to look at. All right, as always, hopefully you guys join me every day, subscribe, set that alert, and I give you the market story. I'll give you the market news, the economic calendar, leaders and laggards, and daily chart analysis, as well as long and short trade scenarios. Okay? Yeah. Glad you stuck. Glad you stuck with me. All right. I'm about to run my gamma levels now and get ready for this market open. Everybody have a great day. Have a great weekend. Remember, go to my Discord if you want to see some live updates. That would be like Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage. Click on the link. Come join me. All right. Might go live today. And If you don't come there, you'll see me on Monday. I'm not sure. I probably will do a morning video. So, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna be trading. I have a doctor's appointment. Not sure. I have to see the timing. I have to go to Philly. I have to see if I'm still gonna trade or not. I might maybe trade the first hour. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, have a great weekend, and hope to see you in